All right, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the Silver Stacking Podcast. I am investing with TJ.
And I'm Silver Slayer, back in the flesh.
Back in the flesh. Glad to have you
Yes.
back. And we are here pretty much excited since the first episode that launched last Friday. We so far have, and I'm going to check the stats right now.
Yeah, man.
We
It
so
was very
far
successful.
extremely successful. We have 515 subscribers, largely due to, I would say, Silver Slayer really pushing it last week. And we have 1.3K views on our first video, which is
Yeah.
insane. It's like more than double
That's got to be
our
some type of
subscribers.
record, like first YouTube video ever posted on a channel, already over 1,000 views. That's pretty good. That shows you guys like it. And I mean, I'm excited. I feel like this thing's going to be huge, especially since we're going to be consistently posting and posting segments every single day, just in case someone can't listen through the entire podcast. Plus, we're doing a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you're in the first 1,000 subs, eligible to win some silver. So make sure you subscribe as well.
Exactly. And, since the last time we talked, I know in the last episode, I spoke about how, I was looking to go to a local coin shop.
Yeah, how was
And
that?
yeah, man, it was pretty dope. Like it was surprising. So like we've had conversations about the differences between online and selling in person.
Yeah.
And I have yet to sell online. I plan on doing that too. But when I went to this shop, I looked up some Google reviews of local shops around the area.
Mm-hmm.
This guy had like some of the best reviews I saw. These here were brilliant uncirculated.
Oh,
I
really?
still even
Okay.
have some.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and he basically I also had some collector, I used to say numismatic uh silver and then also some gold. And when I sold them, he was like, you know what? These I like to check on eBay what the price is, and
Wow.
then I subtract the eBay fees and I'll give you whatever that is. So I was
That
like,
is
oh,
interesting.
that's pretty
He
interesting.
that's not common, honestly. That's not very
Mhm.
common. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I was just like, man, because I was thinking back to what you said when I was selling. I was like, you know what? Like, this is, I assume it's pretty rare. He even said it himself. He was like, most coin
Yeah,
shops, he's
that
worked at a
doesn't
couple.
yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, he's worked at a couple shops, and he was like, you'd be surprised. Some people will say, gold is gold is gold is gold. This is what the
Silver
spot
is
price
silver.
is, and this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you get $1 or $2 maybe over. And yeah, and a lot of people, they take that loss because they don't know about eBay, or they just find some silver necklace or jewelry or gold jewelry or even coins that their grandpa gave to them. So they don't, so and they just sell it, right? You don't think like, hey, maybe there's a place online. It's just natural. Go to the the coin shop. And actually, a lot of people make the mistake of going to a pawn shop. There's a big difference between pawn shops and coin shops.
Oh,
Pawn
break that
shop
down.
pawn shops will offer you $4 for an ounce. They don't go by spot price whatsoever. Like, it's
Wow.
non-existent there. It's so disgusting. Like, I remember going in there once just out of curiosity, and he offered me like $5 for like an eagle. And I was like, do you know what spot price is? And he was like, this isn't a coin shop, right? And I was like, wow, like that's scary. That is really scary to think that people
And
even
I bet that guy probably didn't know what spot price was. He was just hoping that
right,
you didn't
honestly.
know so he could upsell it. I was surprised. I will say my main surprise came from the Kennedy that I sold. So I had no idea that like constitutional silver had that much of a markup on it with premium. Like it was a 1964 Kennedy, and he was like, and I got this free from using Money Metals Exchange, and I bought 1 ounce from Money Metals Exchange, and they gave me a Kennedy for free. And I was like, okay, 50 cents. I'm expecting I'll probably get maybe somewhere, I don't know, maybe a little bit above that. Who knows? And he was like, "Oh yeah, $8." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
he was
got to
like,
think of,
"Yeah, 16 times or eight
yeah,
times or whatever it was."
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Face value. And it, by the way, a quick tip, if you ever want to know how to calculate how much actual silver is in junk, let's say you have $5 worth of like uh walking liberties and stuff, you would do 5 times point 0.7. Yeah, it is 0.715, and that'll tell you how much actual silver. Here, I could pull it. I want to do it right now. Let's say like I went
Mhm.
to, because this is a really good way to tell if you're getting ripped off or not.
Yeah,
So let's say 5 times 0.715. So that means there's 3.5 actual ounces of silver. And then you could do spot price or whatever and see if you're getting a deal. But junk silver is interesting because they don't make it anymore. So over the years coming up, there's going to be less and less in circulation. So they're already starting to grow a numismatic value on top of them. It's a piece of American history.
that's so
And
cool.
and if you want an idea of how that or proof, at least look at Morgan stopped minted in 1921, junk silver 1964. So Morgan's already have a nice jump on junk silver, or normal junk silver at least. So and Morgan's already have are growing numismatic value. And I mean, it's perfect because junk silver is a way to invest into fractional silver. Fractional is important, right? If you're going to be trading or bartering and something isn't worth a full ounce, but all you have are ounces, what do you do? Take a chainsaw to your American Eagle? You know, it's and it's a way to store fractional. Plus, if you buy fractional rounds like online, they're way more expensive because you have to pay for the premium. You don't get the premium, or I guess the same type of benefit that junk silver or constitutional silver has, since it's a piece of American history.
Mhm.
And there's also key dates and condition, right? If you look at a Morgan, if it's even in decent condition, those things sell for a lot of money. And if it's the Carson City mint compared to Philadelphia, like that stuff is like, that's another video that I want to do, is understanding the market of coins. If you don't understand the market of Morgans, because each year mintage numbers are drastically different. Some mints like Carson City is a lot more rare, so they're more expensive. So if you don't know this and you're a newbie and you just buy a random Morgan on eBay, you're probably going to get ripped off. You have to understand each year. You have to be able to tell condition with your own eye. Like, it's very complicated, and I don't think people stress that enough, because you can get ripped off very easy online.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, you just school me on something else. That's something like I would have gotten ripped off.
A lot of people go by actual ounces, not a troy ounce. So they rip you off those 3 grams extra as well. They'll say 5 ounces of silver, but they're going by 28 grams, not 31, which is a troy ounce. So they get you that way as well.
Ah,
They're
that's
smart on
interesting
there.
too.
Yeah, they're smart on there. It's pretty messed up, but I try
This
to.
is this is online where you find a lot of this
Yeah,
stuff kind of happening.
yeah, like on eBay, yeah, they'll go by normal ounces, which obviously 3 grams isn't that much, but if you're buying in bulk, that could definitely add up.
Yeah,
And
that'll
then
add up for sure.
that's just taking advantage of newbies. They just,
Hmm.
because people will buy that all day. Just like I was on Amazon, or was that you that even mentioned that, where people are selling straight up fake silver, but they'll use words to make it seem like it's real. They'll use like commemorative or um uh replica, but it sounds like it's just a replica of an American Eagle, but it's still silver, right? Just like an off-brand silver coin that looks like an American Eagle. That's what I would think if I was looking at a replica or commemorative, not the fact that it's a downright just plain non-silver coin worth $2, but they're selling it for the same price as an American Eagle. And people are buying those up like hotcakes too for $50. So
Wow.
yeah.
So that's another thing to watch out for. The word is commemorative. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, they'll say commemorative, they'll say replica, a couple of different words. And I know that people are falling for it, because I'll go to the reviews and people in the comments of the reviews will be like, "Yeah, I love this silver coin. I bought it for my husband." And it's like, man, like,
Man,
so
that's crazy.
I remember the first time I saw that, I made a video instantly. Like, as soon as I saw that, like within 10 minutes, I was working on a thumbnail. Like, I got to get this out now. But
Yeah, man.
yeah,
That's crazy. Like you said,
yeah,
like people are probably buying it for like their spouses or whoever for
yeah,
like a specific, a special occasion, and then they're getting like ripped off. That's messed up, man.
yeah,
So speaking of which, getting stuff online can obviously have a bunch of like, trials and tribulations with it.
yeah.
But if you take a look here, we have a our first sponsor here on our podcast, the Silver Stacking Podcast, is Bullion Max, and they obviously have deals on here. They're legit. They even have some new 2022 coins here as well. I was actually
Yeah,
like searching through
yeah.
these.
I'm going to be unboxing some of these bad boys soon. So
Yeah, like take a look. 2022 1 ounce Austrian and silver Philharmonic is out. Um,
the
oh, and they also have
pandas,
some stuff from
the
Guinea.
2022 pandas are out. I actually just got a 2022 Rwanda series tiger because 2022 is year of the tiger. That thing
Oh,
is
nice.
wicked looking, man. Like it's wicked. So yeah, shout out to
Man.
Bullion Max. A lot of places don't have 2022 coins, or if they do, a very small selection, but they have a good amount. They have the kangaroos, the pandas, the Philharmonics. And when I got my first package, their packaging was pristine. Like
Mm.
I've unboxed hundreds of packages, and I'm genuinely saying this. I'm not saying this because they're our sponsor. You can go watch my unboxing video. The way they packaged that thing was A+, and that's very important, right? It
Especially
really
when you
is.
just want to have that care
Yeah,
seen into the packaging. Yeah.
yeah, it's very important. Plus, um, they have a nice selection, and you could even see at the top they accept BitPay, so they accept crypto, even PayPal. So yeah, I mean, I'm really proud to represent this company genuinely. It's
Yeah.
not like it's just a random sponsor. This is a very reputable and respectable company, and I feel good, shouting them out. So
100%. So taking a little bit of a detour now, this past week, people have probably been feeling a little bit like this meme right here,
yeah,
which basically is we're stacking, and the seas are getting a little bit rough. And I wanted to explain a little bit as to why this is happening. So obviously, everyone knows who is an econ nerd like myself that the Federal Reserve released their FOMC statement. Not going to bore you with the whole thing, but just check out this brief little blurb here. In support of these goals, which is their maximum employment and their price stability goals, the committee decided to keep the target range for the federal funds rate at 0 to 0.25%. With inflation well above 2% and a strong labor market, the committee expects it will soon be appropriate to raise the target range for the federal funds rate. The committee decided to continue to reduce the monthly pace of its net asset purchases, bringing them to an end in early March 2022. Now, why this is important is when you think about what the interest rates do to financial markets, you are essentially discounting what you think will happen to the future into the
mm,
present day. So this is one of the reasons why we saw in 2020 silver and gold rise up so aggressively,
yeah,
because it was expecting the
speculation.
inflation to come up in 2021, which is what happened in around spring to summer of 2021. That's where we really saw that CPI really begin to rise. Again, that's the rate of change of inflation. Inflation is always rising, but it's how fast it's rising. And that's what CPI represents. So that starts to take place a year after we saw silver and gold begin to rise. So what does that mean now? Why are stocks struggling? Why is crypto struggling? Why is silver struggling? Well, in gold struggling as well. The reason why is because they're looking ahead to the future and thinking, what's going to
Yes.
happen a year from now? And what's going to happen a year from now is if the Fed is successful, and some people say, hey, they may not be as successful in raising rates to the amount that they hope. But let's say, for example, they are. That means that we now have competition with interest rates. That means people will then be able to say, well, interest rates were, or you could say bonds or what have you, were a terrible play beforehand, but now it looks like,
Yeah.
that's our competition. They call it the risk-free rate. So meaning that you're basically guaranteed whatever that rate is. So if you have to weigh the two, it's like, well, do I want to put my money in something that is quote unquote guaranteed by the government, which is the risk-free rate? Or do I want to continue putting my money in something that might be quote unquote more volatile, which could be stocks or crypto? Um, so when you take a look at it, all those things, all those assets are competing with interest rates. So again, being that we're looking ahead in the future and we're discounting back to the present, that's why we're seeing silver struggle so much right now in the face of this. And so far, Bank of America actually just came out and said that they expect to see potentially 7 Fed rate hikes this year, which to me, I think that
Whoa.
seems kind of crazy.
Wasn't it supposed to
Um,
be 4?
yeah, it was supposed to be 4. Bank of America is saying that they see 7, which basically means that would be 1 rate hike per Fed meeting, essentially. So every time the Fed comes together and meets, they'll just raise rates a
Yeah.
quarter.
That's not realistic, I
It's
don't
not
think.
realistic at all.
What did Federal Chairman Jerome Powell say? He's I like him. He's more transparent than most. He'll
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
you
he's
kind of what's really going on. I mean, obviously to an extent, but I do think he's more honest than most.
he has to kind of telegraph things so that people can basically see, well, because here's the thing, this is impacting us, but it's also impacting other countries, emerging markets,
The
developing
US
economies.
dollar is the world's reserve currency, right?
Exactly. And so many other countries, in order to get investment from their bonds, they have to denominate their debt in stronger currencies. So it's the US or the euro. So if they denominate their currencies in something that's stronger, and if the rates rise and the dollar gains against them, they have to pay back the people who are holding their bonds in a higher or in a stronger currency in the future. So it's going to hurt them in the long run. So that's why the IMF and other people are saying, hey, Federal Reserve, please be transparent when you're telegraphing your potential rate
Yeah.
hikes, because this is going to hurt the smaller guy in other countries. So, but going back to silver, here we have on the screen the silver chart. And basically what you can see here is silver going all the way back to even 2019 here. So obviously, as you can see, it ran up aggressively, which is
Yeah.
very uncommon
Yeah.
compared to what silver tends to do.
That was the
It,
$11 silver in March 2020, right? When it's that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
11. Yeah,
Now
basically almost close to
that
12.
was when the gold to silver ratio was 125 to 1. So
Insane.
yeah, high where that's the highest, or I guess you could say the most undervalued silver's ever been compared to gold throughout the last 5,000 years. Like that's we'll be reading about that in history books. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
that is never gonna happen again, in my opinion. But
And then just look at how aggressively it rose. I mean, no one was basically selling at this point, because if you're
yeah,
selling, you just you
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
just lost out.
Oh man,
I
imagine
can't
buying at
imagine.
that. But
And you already know
I'm
those. They still
yeah.
had those premiums up too.
Yeah,
Remember?
that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, those premiums were still like aggressive. But
Yeah,
take a look
over
at what happened
50%.
here. Um, Basically, at the top, going all the way to where we are now, things have basically been in a trading range.
Yeah.
This is important because a lot of
Look at
people
that
may not.
support level. What is that support level at?
Right here,
20, yeah, 22. What is that? 21?
I guess you could say the
Or
lowest point it got to was around 2140. These are closing prices.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so 2140. And here's the thing. So as the chart begins to trade in this long trading range, this is essentially the same effect as a correction. When people think about corrections, they think about prices just dropping from the
Yeah.
highs. But you can also have a correction, an effective correction, if you're just in this long trading range and you just don't do anything. It's basically taking out the steam from that aggressive run.
Right. That overbought territory. That's
Exactly.
extreme
Exactly.
overbought territory. And it has to, like, imagine like Bitcoin did this in 2016. It just went up, 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 up
Mhm.
without having any pullback. So the price could build stability. And that's why it crashed, and took years to recover. So
Exactly.
corrections are almost healthy. It's funny to say it needs to go down for it to go up higher, but in my opinion, corrections are definitely healthy for the market, even though it seems kind of contradicting that the price has to drop for it to.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. It's almost kind of like when you exercise and you work out, it's like you lift weights, you're putting in all that energy, and then you got to let your muscles rest because
Yeah,
the fibers are breaking down so it can build up more muscle, you
yeah.
know?
And let me mention it. I'm asking you these questions because you're the one that would know. I'm kind of coming from like the audience
Oh, no
perspective,
worries.
but you see that support level at like 22, right? Or 21.
Mhm.
If it broke below that, it would go into since the support's been there since 2021, it would get pretty ugly if it broke below that support level, right?
Exactly. So a lot of people are thinking that once it really breaks below, and silver is really interesting, it builds these support and resistance levels, at least in the 20 range, 20 to 30 range, almost at that even marks, so like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So some have even said if it breaks below just 20, we'll just come back down to this level,
Yeah,
which
I
is,
could.
this 19
Yeah,
range here, 19, 18, 17, whatever. Funny enough, this is around the time when I started buying. I started buying around like September of 2019 when spot was around here. So if it comes back down here, you already know I'm gonna start
oh
I'm gonna
man,
start buying some more.
better.
So here's the thing. So this essentially, what I'm essentially saying is that if prices begin to come down and they start dropping down here, I kind of just told what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to buy some more silver. I still actually have silver here. Got some American Eagles, but like I said, I did sell, and this is like this is the result from it. And
Let me get some of
I
that, bro.
yeah, man. Yeah,
Free
and
cash
I
giveaway too.
yeah. It like honestly, this thing. Um,
How much did you sell? How many ounces?
so I sold in a, I'm sorry. In addition to silver, I did sell gold as well. So a lot of that did come from gold.
Yeah,
Because I didn't sell all my silver, but a lot of it did come from gold. And my plan basically was, and I explained this to some people in some of my videos, was
yeah.
that
Your video goes live in an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 19 minutes, right? At 2 p.m.
um
I saw today. I thought it said 2 p.m.
oh
One
oh
of your videos is going live.
yeah, that actually is
Is it
um
the interview with him?
yeah, these are like different clips of the interview with him.
Okay.
I'm going to do another video where I kind of show my selling strategy and everything like that too, and kind of break down the numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, I have some expenses coming up, but I wanted to show people, how this can work and be beneficial to you, because a lot of people, like you said, when they sell, they actually sell at a loss,
Yeah.
because they buy way too high and then they decide, they might get a little scared or something, or hey, something real life comes up and you have to sell. That's true too. And you might sell at a loss. I bought silver at 17, basically around spot, and I sold like around 24 spot. So this
That's
is
good.
literally
That's
right
really good.
before prices start to come down,
That's really good.
before the Federal Reserve came out with their announcement. And then of course, he gave me some additional money over spot because of um, ASCs, and then I also had like I also sold that um, what was it? I think it was that Central African
Yeah.
Republic coin.
What did you get for that?
That was like it was like 30 over 30 or something like that.
Yeah. See,
Um,
it's that proves right there that every coin shop's different,
yeah, yeah.
which is important. I even mine, I have two in my area. The one is more silver, the other one's more semi-numismatic and that route, and just understanding that is very important. You can't just and there's no Walmart for silver stacking, like it's very important to understand which places and even buying online. Atmex might have the best prices for pandas. Provident Metals might have the best prices for maples.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Exactly.
that's really interesting that he was able. That I mean, that use that to your advantage for sure.
Yeah, and I think kind of like what you said, you almost kind of have to shop around and find the right coin shop for you. I know some people may only have one option, but if you have a lot of options near you, find the one where, the guy is also like I spoke to him. He started out as a silver stacker, so he understands where we're coming from.
Yeah,
So he's like, I know the questions you may have, I know the concerns you may have. So I'm very transparent. He kept saying that over and over again. He's like, I'm going to be extremely transparent. I show people what I bought from the wholesaler price. He'll show the whole breakdown and say, this is what I'm giving you based on what I
yeah,
paid for this.
that's really cool. What about buying? You talked about selling. How much would it be to buy an American Eagle from him?
I didn't get to ask him that. I think maybe when I go in and actually buy, well,
Yeah,
I'll have to have that
that'd be
experience
interesting to
too.
see. Yeah, that, 'cause I wonder if he would still charge you the same premiums that are online
But
to,
actually, funny, he did explain it. But he went into so much detail. I honestly didn't understand it. He was like showing me the wholesale thing. He was showing me the whole chart. I was like, I don't know what you're showing me right now.
If you couldn't understand it, that's pretty impressive because
Yeah, he was like just like saying it out. Like I was just like, man, this is confusing. But no wonder why, like coin shop dealers. I mean, like you kind of have to you have to have those numbers in your head so that
yeah,
way. Because he was even telling me like because I gave him one of my tubes of ASCs. And he was like, you see that tube they gave me? I have to basically, it's worth a lot, but I have to basically get rid of it within a month. And I didn't really understand why, but it was something to do with like, I guess, inventory and holding on to inventory for too long. I think it's more of like a business thing of like him just holding on to inventory um, and having that, it almost kind of added a cost. That was pretty interesting because he was basically like,
like storage.
yeah, so like a lot of online dealers, he was explaining that many of them may just drop ship. So they may not even hold on to inventory. They may just, you put an order in, they'll put that order into someone else, and then they don't have to have that additional cost of holding on to inventory, which
Hmm.
eats into your, I guess, bottom line.
It does
So
make sense. I mean, you can fit $100,000 worth of gold in the shoebox, $100,000 worth of silver. Man, that's a lot of space.
yeah, it takes up space.
Yeah,
So it's just one of those additional things to consider, I guess, getting into that business. I kind of want to learn more about it. But
yeah,
switching gears a little bit, speaking of silver and kind of like the great successes of silver, we definitely gotta shout out these guys right here, Wall
yes.
Street Silver. Um, it
It's
was
their birthday.
basically the 1 year anniversary. Gotta clap it up for them.
Yes. Change the game.
1 year anniversary. So what are your
Change
thoughts,
the
man?
game. Wall Street Silver was critical. I feel like last year, Wall Street Silver was the critical thing to happen for silver, and this year it's the Silver Stacking Podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
but
sure.
seriously, like people say that Wall Street Silver was a fail. It was a flop. It failed, and that is the farthest from the truth. Like I've made a lot of videos. I actually just made a video a couple weeks ago, like a in-depth video about how incredible this was that they could. Because I mean, look how many silverback they have 179,000 members.
That is a lot.
That a lot of that, probably 15% of those people knew about silver before that. and they were able to push silver up to the highest price in a decade, basically, with only a few thousand people, right? They pushed it up to $30. Last time we saw that was 2011. And they only had probably 10,000 people at that point. Like,
Yeah.
they put silver on the map. And if anyone thinks that pushing the price up to that extreme is a fail, I don't know what you're looking at. And a lot of people, I guess, stereotype them because they're like, oh, they're trying to push the price from $27 to 2,700 or whatever. And it's like, maybe that was the idea at first and not from everyone, but nowadays going here, these are all cold-blooded silver stackers, right? They're not just,
Yeah.
and they're buying physical silver and they understand the
Exactly.
dollar, right? It's just
100%.
it's those people that were doing, they're saying that they just didn't do the research. If they would go on here, they would see, okay, these are real silver stackers. They're not just these fake, people hopping on the silver train and then they're going to panic sell at the first sight. That's far from the truth. They've had billboards on highways talking about silver and the
Yeah.
dollar. I mean, they were trying to make a Super Bowl commercial last year. Like, they are impressive.
And I mean, just take a look at this one right here. Like you just said it yourself. There's 179,000 silverbacks, right? And just this one person alone basically saying, I'll be able to start buying 10 ounces instead of one every paycheck, basically by the summer. So just imagine this is one person who's going to buy 10 ounces, once every paycheck. And there's so many other people who are showing their stacks like this person right here.
Yeah, it's
So
so
just
fun to go on
imagine
here.
people are learning about this stuff and they're going to be adding to the investment of silver. It's going to increase that demand
Yeah,
of silver.
and they do silver raids. They look, that's a nice stack. I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like what they did with their silver raid. JM Bullion, AppMex, all those sites, they wouldn't even accept orders. That's how JM Bullion's site went offline because there was too much traffic. If you were on AppMex, usually if there's a lot of traffic, they would say they would say like a back date, like you would have to wait 2 weeks. They wouldn't even accept order because they didn't even know if they'd have the inventory. You couldn't buy silver anywhere, and if you could, you were in the shopping cart for hours. Like, I was waiting for hours in AppMex's shopping cart, and then it refreshed and I lost my spot. So I went on eBay, and luckily I found a place called Pinehurst Coins, and I used some of my Bitcoin to buy 4 tubes of 2021 Eagles. But which is kind of cool that you can use crypto for that reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just insane. Like, I've never seen anything like that. It was unbelievable to witness how many people buying silver at once in one day. But
Yeah. And if you take a look at this too, man, like this person, it says one apes 2121 stacking journey to 1,000 plus. Like someone in 2021 purchased 1,000 ounces of silver. That is insane. And
yeah,
again, the more and more people who just buy, X amount of ounces, it's going to have this compounding effect. And these
yes,
people likely aren't going to be selling all this,
no,
because if you think about it, it's like, this isn't like a stock where you can just easily just press a button and sell.
right.
You actually have to like plan your selling out.
That's a good point. A lot of people buy silver for that reason. It's because they suck at saving money or even crypto, but they can finally save money when they're investing in a silver for that reason, because it's harder. And look, they have 179,000 members in a year. Imagine like 4 or 5 years. They could have up to 1 million members by then. And that's all
Yeah.
new silver stackers. Like, that is insane to think about.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like more and more, I know for people who have been in the space for a long time, it seems like, oh, well, it's kind of getting old and getting kind of stale. But you have to understand, like, people are learning about silver, gold, precious metals every single day. It's just adding the more and more, like, that's why communities like these are important because it's actually having a compounding effect. One new
Yeah.
person will basically tell other people. And
Mm,
just imagine that network effect. I know that's talked about a lot in crypto, but there's a network effect happening here with people in the silver space who can then tell other people, like, hey, have you thought about what's happening with your dollars? Have you thought about what's happening with inflation?
mm,
And then they can just educate more people as things begin to get worse, pretty much. Um, so it'll be adding to demand. And speaking of which, we've been talking a lot about the short term, but looking ahead to the future, there's one of the things that Silver Slayer talks a lot about is the silver shortage. you know and here we're on Kitco, and this article here, basically these two people here are speculating on prices of gold and silver based on
500.
a shortage. Now, if you scroll all the way down to the section where they kind of start talking about prices.
Because the average for the last thousands of years 16 to 1, which, so if that's a realistic um ratio that could happen. It really could, 75
Yeah,
to 1 is not normal. That was from 1930 when FDR changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1, single-handedly devalued silver. And it's never really, I mean, in like 2011 when silver was like $50, it went down. But I think 16 to 1 is, I honestly should be like 8 to 1 because that's the ratio it comes out of the ground. But
yeah,
16 to 1 is definitely possible. And seeing that $10,000 gold, which is possible, and $500 silver, that's a realistic price that I could see in the future.
yeah.
And
Because I mean, if you think about it, like when gold was like at $30 in the early 70s, imagine talking to somebody in 1972 and saying, "Hey, I'm from the future.
yeah,
Can you imagine in
yeah,
2021 gold got to $2,000?" They will look at
right.
you like you're insane.
Yeah, right. And people don't think about it like that. Like
Hmm.
10 years ago, silver was $50. Like people don't, it's, they're so used to like the right now that they can't see the bigger picture that, and I learned it a lot from Bitcoin, right? I started buying
Hmm.
Bitcoin at 1200 and then I got up to 60,000 within a couple of years. Like that
Yeah.
showed me that at a very, in a very, tight knit space, that just because something is this right now, you can't always just assume or put yourself in that box that the price can't do this or it's too good to be true, because it is, and it makes sense as well. And at $500 silver makes a lot more sense than $10,000 gold, in my opinion. When
Hmm.
silver's $500, gold would probably be around 5,000, because silver has so much more opportunity where gold doesn't, because there's a shortage of silver. There's not a shortage.
Exactly.
There's not a shortage of gold. There's a shortage of silver.
When gold was at $30, five times that is 150. Gold hits 2,000. Five times that is 10,000. So it's like,
Yeah.
how long did it take gold to go from $30 to 150? I think it actually happened within the 70s, right? I think it did happen within that decade. So, it's all relative, but to say, oh, 10,000, that's too crazy. It's like, well, you would likely be that same person who would say that, oh, $150 gold, no, it's going to be
Right.
$30.
All right.
It's pretty wild. But I mean, like I said, with a shortage of supply, or I'm sorry, like you said, with the shortage of supply, and going back to how more and more people are telling more and more people about silver, it's going to increase investment demand. So once we start looking at those Silver Institute graphs that they always release every year, I'll be curious to see how much investment
Yeah.
demand increases.
It was 1.2 billion last year, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
1.2 billion, which is insane. I think previously it was like 1.1 billion a couple of years ago, um but yeah, I was about to say something as well. Is silver is a win-win situation. Whether the economy is in good or bad shape, silver benefits, because even when the economy is in good shape, that means there's more, production, there's more goods and services, and the economy's opening up, and that still benefits silver since it's an industrial metal. Gold is
right.
only a monetary metal. Only when things
Mhm.
are hitting the fan and there's economic turmoil, gold benefits. But silver benefits regardless, and it's a much
Exactly.
smaller market. So if we're looking at demand into silver, that's going to affect the price a lot more because silver is a much smaller market than gold. That's why it's more volatile. So,
Yeah.
if you just look at realistically everything that benefits silver, it's a no-brainer that silver is a much smarter investment than gold is.
Exactly. And if you think about it, like gold, because of Basel III, it's been essentially taken from being I believe it's tier three asset to tier one, and basically the same as cash. And if you look at the volatility of gold, it's not as much as silver over a similar time horizon. So just like Silver Slayer said, you know, silver has much more of an opportunity to move aggressively than gold does. And the people who are getting gold are, you got large central banks, you got institutional investors. For silver, you may have some of those people, some central banks who still have silver. You may have some institutional investors. You may have some retail investors, but you also have a lot more of that industrial demand that we'll see play out in the future. And we've talked about this plenty of times on the or I should say since the first episode
Mhm.
that we had last week. So there is this incoming demand that I don't think people have really started to take in consideration, because as more and more technology needs to be created that needs silver, it's going to push prices up. So it's just a different, it's an additional variable that we have to consider in price.
Okay. And also talking about variables, that is something that a lot of people don't think about. The unknown variable. A wrench could get thrown in and take everything to left field. Just like, let's say, 2019. Do you think all those forecasts and predictions are way off because nobody could have predicted a global situation happening? And especially
Exactly.
living in today's time with how crazy things are, you can't put a forecast or even look at information and play it as if that's exactly what's going to happen, because markets change, drop of a dime. And living in today's times, that unknown variable, that curveball is definitely something that you have to expect will happen and you have to be ready. Um,
Exactly.
so
And that is a really good point that I want to let people know about. So like when, say, for example, I create a forecast model for silver or for gold or for CPI or for anything else, it's not necessarily saying this is exactly, or I wanted to get it. It's not that I wanted to get it to be exactly that number. It's essentially a guide based on the inputs that I put into it. Now, if there's some additional variable that I don't put into my model, let's say, for example, if I create this model back in 2019, and I expected silver to do something in March of 2020, obviously I wouldn't have been able to
right.
anticipate, a global pandemic hitting the world, so it's a guardrail, but it's a guardrail, but it's not the gospel,
Right. Kind
essentially.
of like the weatherman,
Yeah,
to some
exactly.
extent. Yeah.
The weatherman can tell you like, hey, there's a probability of this happening,
Yes.
but there's additional things that we just can't
Yeah.
model. You
And
can't
that's
model something's coming out of nowhere.
and that's exactly why I wanted you as the co-host to be on this with me, because you can bring that guide and then I can offer the shortage and supply and demand, the other side of it.
Yeah,
And those are literally the two things that affect silver's price the most. So if we can both bring our specialties to the table, we
100%.
could give the most accurate, the most accurate forecast and idea and pulse on the silver markets. Like
Exactly.
it's a beautiful thing that we are able to put this together, because nobody else on YouTube really can bring that type of perspective to things.
Right,
So
right. And I think and the one thing I always like to say too, being extremely transparent is, I like going off of, mathematical models and stuff like that, but I'd be the first one to say they're just models, like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you know, or I might have a strategy. At the end of the day, my strategy might be wrong. You always have to assume that
Yeah.
you might be wrong,
Yeah.
and what do you do in that situation, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, man, like I learned so much from you, and I love how when you talk, you explain as well, so the audience can learn, right? They're learning with you, and you're breaking it down so they understand, and that's very important. You could just be saying all these big words and showing these charts, and it would fly right over their head, But you're
mhm.
breaking it down, CPI, what that means, and how that affects the market. That's very important that you can bring that to the table as well.
Yeah,
So
because I will say, like, a lot of people who get into the space, economics and stuff like that, they may just be so entrenched in it over decades that they may even forget what CPI is relative to inflation. They may just get to a point where they start confusing the two. And that's why I think when some of these people get on like CNBC or Bloomberg and they're like, "Oh yeah, inflation is now 7%." It's like, no, man, you gotta be very specific when you say these things because inflation is not at 7%. The CPI is at 7%, the rate of change of inflation. So people might say, oh yeah, inflation is going to go down. It's like, no, it's not. It's continuing to go up. It's just how fast will go up at a faster clip or will it go up at a slower clip,
yeah. Well, I think this was a great episode, second episode.
100%.
I'm just so grateful that we were able to put this together. I feel like this episode is very good. Hopefully every episode we make it better and better and better. And
Exactly.
so if you want a chance to win some silver, make sure you're one of the first 1,000. And plus, how cool would it be to be in the under 1,000 subscriber club for a podcast that it hopefully is going to be extremely successful, be one of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
OG.
like you said, I see this thing getting bigger than it'll get bigger
Yeah,
than my channel is at
same
like
mine.
close to 10K, but I can see this getting way past
Yeah,
my
I
channel.
want this to get a silver play button
Yeah,
or
yeah,
gold play button, 1,000,000 subscribers. But
exactly.
that's a good point though. Like the best feeling is when someone comments or emails me and saying that they started stacking silver because of me, or that
Yeah.
because that means I just basically saved that person's life. I mean,
You
we're
you
talking
just you
about
just helped them out with like
yeah,
developing a savings account,
yeah,
you know?
which is survival to some extent. So
Exactly. So I just want to say again, big shout out to Bullion Max for sponsoring the podcast. Again, check them out. As you guys know, thank you again for watching. Please hit that subscribe button.
yes,
Also, while you're here, go into the description. We also have our own individual channels, so make sure you subscribe to
let's
Silver
get him to
Slayer
10K. Did you hit
and
10K yet?
not yet, not yet. We're
Get him
getting
to
close.
10K. He's so
We're
close,
getting close. We're
so
like 30
close.
or so away.
Oh wait,
So
oh man, that's happening today. That's
yeah,
happening
so we
today for
gotta,
sure.
yeah,
You're
gotta
definitely.
gotta keep it pushing. So
Yeah, you're gonna hit 10K today.
click on investing with TJ, subscribe there. Click on Silver Slayer, subscribe there. Give the video a like.
Yes.
And also, if you want, I'm gonna try to point to it on the screen. But if you want to check out the first episode, check it out here. Hopefully, it'll just show up in the middle, and you can click that
Yes.
that
Yes.
video.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. This is Silver Slayer.
This is Investing with TJ.
See you
See you
guys
later.
soon. Peace.